Recording. Here we go, everybody. Hey, aloha, everybody. Welcome to Bitcoin, Peace, and Music. I have somebody here who is on a mission to help 21 million kids achieve financial literacy using Bitcoin. Welcome, Nzonda Fotsing. How's it going?
I'm good. Everything's fine, and I hope you two are doing fine.
So far, so good. It's a good day here. Hey, so tell everybody where you are and who you are and why you're on this great mission to achieve financial literacy for 21 million kids.
Okay. Like the screen says, my name is Nzonda Fotsing, and I'm based in Cameroon, Central Africa.
Wow.
Cameroon is one of the only two bilingual countries in the world. So you have Cameroon, then Canada. So we speak two languages, French and English. Yeah.
Okay.
So I got into Bitcoin back in 2017, and before getting into Bitcoin, I've always been in the digital space since like 2013, where I started my entrepreneurial journey, learning through the cracks and picking what I can pick online, then trying to see how I can build my skill and then offer value to people and stuff like that. So back in 2017, I got to have an encounter with Bitcoin online when I was doing some research and stuff like that. So I decided to invest. At the time, there wasn't too many platforms, too many resources and stuff like that. So I invested, and unfortunately for me, I got scammed by some people and stuff like that. But I didn't really stop there, even though the whole thing was a bit like a setback to me because I lost almost close to $600 at the time when I was just trying to make things some ends meet. So that was a lot of money at the time. So it slowed me down a little bit. But back in 2020 during the COVID, where things were just a little bit quiet for me and stuff, I started really just rethinking about myself and then trying to see how I could come up with something new, something different and stuff. So that's exactly when I started going down the rabbit hole, right? So when I started the rabbit hole, it was really just a roller coaster of a ride. Once you start reading, because I started reading Beacon Standard by Septin Amos, and then I read
Hmm.
21 Lessons by Gigi. Then I read a couple of other articles online, Bitcoin magazine and stuff. So I just began to, I just began to really, really, really get deep and deep and deep, and it keeps getting interesting. And then I just begin to realize I don't want to do anything else than just study and learn about Bitcoin and then begin to tell it to other people. So while I was doing all that, I started doing some small online webinars Saturdays where I tell people about Bitcoin and stuff like that. And through that, I got to know about Paxful and
Yeah, Ray
yeah,
Paxful.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
God bless him.
Yeah, so sometime last year, I got to work with Paxful. I was senior marketing associate for Francophone Africa. So
Oh,
I was,
wow.
yeah, I was helping people around this French part of Africa to understand what Bitcoin is and stuff. Then Paxful being the vehicle. So it was a really big opportunity for me to meet different people in different places, tell them about Bitcoin and stuff like that. And that's where it really dawned on me, right? There are a lot of people that want to know about Bitcoin, but it's complex. And in Africa, there's a lot of scams revolving crypto and everything, and a lot of
Hmm.
people feel like Bitcoin is a scam, right? And
Mm.
so this creates an environment of too much disinformation, and people who are trying to be interested in this space cannot disseminate true or false information and stuff like that. So they're always caught up in two worlds. Yeah, people out there, people that are always telling you about come to crypto, you make a lot of money. Then there are just some other people doing a lot of stuff. So it was really confusing for a lot of people. So each time we do a meetup, you get people asking you questions. Why are you people telling other people about your scam and all of that? So it was really really bizarre. So, but I was always thinking of that I want to do something, but I didn't know exactly what I want to do, right? And but the idea was for me to create something that makes it very simple for somebody to understand what Bitcoin is, like really good information. So, but I didn't really understand at the time how I was going to do that. So, but the aha moment for me was when one day I was just sitting on my computer and doing some research as usual and working, and my son pops up because I have a 3-year-old son. Yeah, and by the time he was coming towards the computer, the Bitcoin logo was somewhere roving around, and he asked me, like, "Dad, what's that?" I'm like, "It's the Bitcoin logo," and he's like, "What's the Bitcoin logo?" I'm like. Bitcoin is digital money. He said. Then he looked at me because digital money is kind of a complicated word for him to say, but he startled. He was startled and he looked at me. I'm like, so then my wife took him away. They're trying to do something. But when he left, something clicked in my head, right? And I was like, wait, maybe this is what I need to do. Like the thing I've been thinking about is about maybe making Bitcoin in such a way that a kid as well as an adult that have never heard about Bitcoin can understand it. And the
Yeah.
idea of a comic book, that's how I started working on the Bitcoin Kids comic book. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing? Like, so our little kids like give us so much inspiration and hope. Um, it's cool that you mentioned Gigi because there's his book obviously back
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I love
Really
him.
great guy.
He's the man. Um, one thing I remember we were on a call and he was like, it's easier to teach kids than it is to teach us adults about
Oh,
Bitcoin,
yeah,
um, because kids are fresh. They're like a blank slate, right? You don't have
yeah,
to
yeah,
unteach them stuff. So anybody that we have to
exactly.
go and unteach something to, we're already
Yeah,
expending a lot more energy on them. And
yeah,
so why
yeah,
not put good energy into these beautiful young minds of our children, right? With what the future of money is, which is Bitcoin, obviously. Let's go.
exactly.
I want to pull up the Bitcoin Kids book. And so
Yeah.
let's talk about it. And this is so exciting. So, I mean, I love how ambitious you are. So why did you choose the 20 million? Why that number?
Yeah, because the focus is to make sure that every home, for the most part of the global south, gets to feel the impact or the value that Bitcoin has to offer, right? And
Hmm.
there are about more than close to 700 million people that don't have access to financial education or anything like that. So 21 million is just to give ourselves something realistic that we can work on. But there's just too much that we need to do going forward. There's a lot of people who need the right information about their finances, about good money education and stuff like that. So, but we needed to start somewhere. So that's why we have 20 million.
I love it. And I love your
Yeah.
partnering with Bitcoin trading cards. Love those guys.
Hmm.
Obviously, Satoshi's Journal. Yay. Love all these guys. And Bitcoin Data. Yay. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. It's so, so good. And Paco. Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
good. Um, it's so important, I think, that we have such great collaborations, with
Yeah.
each other as Bitcoiners, right? Because well, I don't know about you, but I've certainly noticed uh, absolute generosity in this community more than I've
Yes.
seen in any other,
Yeah.
sector of the world in my experience on planet Earth here. Um, and so I think partnerships and just getting excited with each other and because we're all promoting Bitcoin in our own ways, right? And our, whether it's through kids or music or, code, any of it, it's really, really cool. What do you think? Like, so how's everything been going for you? How are you guys? Do you guys have, are you getting traction or what do you need help with to get this message out?
So the traction has been building, and it's been quite good so far. Yeah. So we're in that space where we just need more and more people. We just need to get on interviews and podcasts as much as possible to get the word out there, so more and more people to know that the book is existing and that it can help kids, it can help families. We want to like touch influential Bitcoiners to be able to help us share the word and then push things out and stuff like that. So that's where we are right now, and we are doing partnerships, distribution partnership with different Bitcoiners in different African countries. So we have. For example, we have Master Quanta in Kenya, we have Bitcoin Data in Kenya, we have Bitcoin Ekasi in South Africa, we
Oh,
have
cool.
Yeah, we have DGOs in Nigeria. So we have some sort of like a deal with these guys so they become distributors. So people in those countries can have access to the physical copies. Because if we have to print everything in one place, then try to ship, then taxes, logistics is a lot. It's a lot. It's a whole hassle. And we might not be able to satisfy the demand most often. So we have this kind of partnership to make sure that the book is at the disposal of the people that we want them to have the book. Yeah.
And is it, are you doing like print on demand, or do you have to like do these big print runs and have batches of them sitting somewhere?
So actually, we're doing a print on demand. So when the order is a good quantity, we print, and then yeah. So we have different deals with print guys around, and yeah, it's since it's a start, we're just picking the tracks and then learning how it's going, so we can keep innovating on the process, making it better, so people more and more people can have access to the book easily. Because the aim is to make sure that people that need to know about Bitcoin get to know about Bitcoin. Yeah. And the next level of the project is actually getting our boots on the ground, going to these people, going to schools, going to churches, going to different places with the book, and then telling people that this is something that I think the kids of this school need to learn about and stuff like that. So, and we added by I think by June or so this year, there's an activity book that'll be accompanied by the book. So
Oh, good.
uh, yeah, we could go to an elementary school or like a nursery or primary school or something, and then we have kids where they'll just maybe try to color the Bitcoin logo, do some mathematical exercises, so they get to interact. So the teacher might be reading the book to them, but they get to also interact with the book, and then begin to have Bitcoin knowledge somewhere subtle in your mind as they're growing up. Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you are and do you know play like Shamory, play Shamory
yes,
and Yusuf with built with Bitcoin, and they're doing
yes,
their little fundraiser with their
yeah,
little
yeah.
chamois. Those are super cool.
Big
Um,
inspiration.
you guys should do some kind of collaboration with your book, your comic books and their chamois, and then they have good night Bitcoin books too. That would be a
Yeah,
really fun
yeah, it'll
uh
be really cool. I'm open for that.
yeah, those could be good packages to get to people or to different schools and stuff for people. I think it's super important. Um, yeah, this is amazing. And so what are you feeling like? What's been your experience with the reception to, the kids reading this book? Are they getting aha moments and going, "Yeah, I want to be a Bitcoiner?" And then if so, what's the next step that they take that you help guide them on so that they can do whatever the next thing is that's appropriate for their age to becoming a Bitcoiner?
Yep. So for the most part, so what the book actually is meant for kids that are like 7 years and above, right?
Okay.
Yeah, kids that are lower might not really pick out some things, and then yeah, try to make use out of it. But we're working on another book, another version of the book that's for kids that are like ages of 3, 2, and 5 or something like that. So yeah, and we're doing a lot of psychology. We're working with a child psychology expert, so we make sure that the book is really adapted for that age.
Oh,
So
cool.
even if they just have to maybe play with something just to keep it subtle in your mind, so by the time they are up, they know exactly what Bitcoin is all about. So coming back to the question, we've had like um, different categories of kids. They're I think 16, I think 8, and all that. And I was a bit startled by how much they don't know about money, and how much they don't know about the history of money, right?
Mhm.
And to my greatest surprise, even though that's the aim of it, but I'm always very surprised as though it was something new each time somebody sees the book like a kid and then say, hey, I want to read that. Not because they know what is inside, but because they see how attractive the design and everything is, which was really very intentional, right? So that's the first thing, which makes me very happy. So once they read it, like there was this particular kid, she was 8 years old, and once she read it, within 15 minutes, she could finish the book and then tell us about the history of money in 2 minutes.
What? Oh my God. That's
So
incredible.
yeah, so we tried, and for me, I just felt like this is it. I've attained my objective. Even if just this kid reads this book and then feels like this, then I think you know. So it was, I was very happy, and then all the kids just grab it like really easily, because what we did with the book is, even right from the cover, everything is intentional, right? So if you look at the cover of the book, there are two kids. There's a boy, then there's a girl, right? And they are putting on regular. You just go to the, I think, the homepage or so.
The home or the shop? Here. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So they are putting on normal slippers, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this is the regular slippers that a random kid in Africa will put on, right? The way they dressed is a random kid somewhere in Africa. But if you look at what they have on their heads, they have crowns, right? The crown has a Bitcoin logo. This means that regardless of how you look, regardless of where you are, once you learn about Bitcoin, you become a prince or a princess.
I love it. Oh my God. I love it. Love it. Love
Yeah,
it. This
so
is
I wanted
so
to
cool.
build something that once a kid sees it, say, "Oh, I like that because it it connotates with my environment." Right? It's not like wherever the book finds itself, somebody will be interested. Like, what's that? I need to like get to understand. So we're very careful about what we put. So we don't want to put a high end kid then takes out away maybe the other kind of kids that like maybe their parents will say, oh, this thing is not just like you and stuff. So we try to really customize and put it in a way that everybody it fits in with everybody. So we've had like really good feedback from different people across Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa. The feedback has been really great, and there's more feedback coming, especially now that we just launched just yesterday. There's more. There are more people buying, and then there are more people reading. So we have like video testimonies and text and stuff like that. So I can't wait to start sharing all of that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's so exciting. And so what, this, I love how you made it relatable. I think that's such an important thing too, because a lot of people, I think one of the biggest obstacles we have with adoption is the stories, is narrative, right? And so if people have a story in their mind that, oh, this is only for these kind of folks
Exactly.
over here, it's not for me because we have to make everything relatable because Bitcoin is designed for everyone, and so wherever we are in the world, it's like it's for all of us. It's the most
Yeah.
inclusive form
Mhm.
of value exchange I've ever seen, right? And so I'm like, of
Yeah.
course we have to design it so everybody feels welcome and that it's relatable. I love what you did. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's super cool. And so, okay, so what about how? So one of my questions too for you is, okay, so the kids are getting, orange pilled or at least orange, exposed. How is it going? What's the feedback from their families and parents after the kids are like getting excited? Are you noticing like our moms and dads coming up and saying, hey, how do I get a wallet, or how can I get my child, some Bitcoin? How does that work?
Yep. So one of the things I think I've had like two parents that came to me. Okay, so what's the next step, right? So
Hmm.
one of the things we have in the book, right, is we use Bitnop as a wallet in Africa that does a lightning. So I think the chapter 3 of the book, there's an aspect of it that talks about use case, right? Bitcoin use case, particularly lightning, right?
Okay.
So and in that we needed to make it more practical, so we use Bitnop. We included Bitnop in the story. So there's this one parent who reached out to me and said, oh, I downloaded the Bitnop wallet, and right now I can easily purchase some Bitcoin. I think this guy was I think Kenya or Nigeria, one of those countries, and he was really very happy. So I think moving on, I think more and more parents will be able to like really just translate what they've learned practically by downloading an app and stuff like that. So, but we want to make it in such a way that even if they come to us and then maybe there's some sort of complication about what they read, and then maybe they cannot use the app or something like that, we have other options that we can always propose to them. So what we're doing, right? So if you buy the book, there's an access to a WhatsApp group where if you have any kind of question, or they want to translate the group now into Telegram. So if you have like any kind of question or something, feedback or something like that, just drop it. So it's a group where the parents who bought the book can do a video, can drop their feedbacks, positive, negative, and we put everything together. So we just keep ameliorating the process. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's super. That's so important to have, community and feeling like you can ask questions. I know when I first started getting involved in Bitcoin, I was like, I don't want to mess anything up and do it wrong. Who do I ask and how do I make sure that I don't, do the wrong thing and lose all my sats. So I think that's really, really important for sure. Um, yeah, and I think, it's again, kids are so important to get their voices out. I did an interview with Samantha Duval a couple months ago, and I think she's 14. She might be 12. She's a freaking genius, and she's a total Bitcoiner. And it's like, I'm like, how can we help you kids, because you guys are the future. And she's like, we need to get more children's voices out there, and so I think the more that you're doing also with interviewing and getting different young people's voices on board, I think, maybe we can do another episode and get some of the kids that have read your book and bring them on board. Part of one of this initiative we're up to is Bitcoin Kids Month, and I think we might do it in July, maybe June.
Okay.
But what we wanted, just hashtag Bitcoin Kids Month and get as much Bitcoin content out there that is driven by children and children's voices, and so certainly the bitcoinkids.com is like the whole, you're nailing it right there. So we should talk, and
Yeah.
make that happen for sure. So I think the world would do better with more kids' voices.
Amazing, amazing. I'm willing to support take it to wherever he has to go because I'm really very keen. I have a son, and I want to make him to live in a better world than I did. So
Right.
it's a mission that's bigger than myself. So I just have to do it right. So and I feel like if I'm doing it for him, I'm also helping other kids that I cannot even imagine. So I'm in for a long run.
Yes, we are in it to win it forever. I know, right? Isn't that the best? Um, so this is so cool. So, all right, well then let's rock and roll. I think we should do some definite some stuff with Bitcoin Kids Month. Let me ask you this. So in your bio, I love this quote. It says Bitcoin is decolonized money. You want to talk about that
Yes.
a little bit?
Yep. In the environment where I am right now, it's called the CFA zone, right? CFA is an acronym given to our money by France. So France owns intellectual property of every money that we have, right? So let me show you an example. So we have this paper money right here, right?
Okay.
This right? This is 10,000 francs CFA, right? Right. So France own an intellectual property, even because I'm holding this money right now. That's how bad it is.
Okay.
Yes. So, and once I understood what Bitcoin is and the freedom and the self sovereignty it gave me, I just had to think about decolonization, right? Because decolonization is use some sort of um, disentangling yourself from every ignorance that you've been in, and then you finding your path, and then not letting anybody lead you on, you leading yourself, and then you just allowing your spirit, your mind, and then taking you to that space, that peace of mind that you really really need. Because owning Bitcoin is actually owning peace of mind, owning freedom, owning self sovereignty. So that's why I look at Bitcoin like decolonized money for real, because we live in an environment where everything about our money is being controlled by somebody. So we have 6 countries in the CIMAC zone, right? And these 6 countries use CFA, right? So how can a country, how can people of this environment grow to a certain economic level where everybody is self-sustainable with their money being controlled, and that money is not only used by them but with six other African countries. So it makes it such that the value or the uniqueness of the money isn't there anymore, right? So even if you can have somebody decolonize you and then controlling you, but so long as you have your own thing going on is even better. But once you have that thing going on, then you have to share that with other people. It means you don't even have anything. So it's just flash, right? It's fiat. It's just paper, the printed something, and then they tell us that, oh, you guys gonna use these and stuff. So once I understood Bitcoin, and I'm like, wow, this is where money is going to, and this is where everybody needs to be. And yeah, that's why I call it decolonized money.
I love it. And as far as, international trade, right? Because a lot of people in, you know, in America and in first world countries don't understand how difficult it is, because we have the dollar and the dollar's accepted everywhere pretty much, right? And so the use case people here are like, oh, Bitcoin, who cares? We're fine. We're the
Yeah,
dollar, And so to me, I try to help people understand, like, people in other parts of the world don't have the dollar, and they don't have, and a lot of people are unbanked, and they're not having access to the ease of doing international trade. And so how does that, you want to talk about that a little bit?
yep. So like I was saying, so this is 10,000, right? Imagine having $10,000. This is the equivalent, right? So the
Uh-huh.
question I used to ask myself, right? America has the dollar, we have the CFA. Why is there so much disparity?
Hmm.
The disparity is way too much, right? I can't do anything with 10,000 francs CFA in the US, but I can do a lot with $10,000 in Cameroon, right? So,
Right.
but
Right.
yeah. So when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, but this is really crazy. And when I look at the geopolitics around the dollar, I begin to understand that why the dollar has a lot of value. Not necessarily because it gives so much value to other people, but it's because America has just positioned themselves in a geopolitical way that makes it such that they harness a lot of power to keep the dollar at the value that it is, right? So once I understood that, I'm like, wow. So Bitcoin comes now and say, oh, regardless of whether you're in Beverly Hills or you're in some suburb in Cameroon or some sort of in South Africa, so long as you have access or even without access to the internet and you hold Bitcoin, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin anywhere, any day, anytime. And I
Right.
was like, that really blew my mind, and I'm like, wow, I really didn't think that the world would become so equal with Bitcoin. And now with most of the things I've been doing in terms of things I got into the Bitcoin space is actually accepting my earnings, everything in Bitcoin, and it's made my life much more easier. So but before, if somebody had to send you money to Cameroon and stuff, there's a lot of hassle. There's the international rates, and then there was this. You go to the Western Union, you go to maybe the places where you have to remove the money. Sometimes somebody has made a mistake on your name. There's just a lot of things along the line that might make you not to have access to money to value that you have worked for, which is really
Hmm.
very crazy. And when it comes now internationally, you don't even see our currency anywhere. So it means that if I want to buy goods and services in the US, I need to change my CFA to dollar before I buy, which is crazy. Why
Yeah.
do I have to use another currency of another country to make international trade? Right? So those things makes it, and then it keeps making the money that we have, the value goes down. And once the value keeps going down, but the poverty level increases. And once the poverty increases, there's misery, and then there's a lot of people doing a lot of crappy stuff around, and then it just really gets like a vicious cycle. Yeah,
Hmm.
don't really some people don't really get to notice because it's not really it's not really alarming. It's not a change that you would see that is glaring, but little by little, it's like we're just turning in the same spiral. Why? Because of the kind of monetary system that we have down here. Yeah.
Yeah, and isn't it? It's fascinating to me because until I started really diving into what is money and learning about Bitcoin a couple years ago, I always had this naive notion of, well, if everybody was just good and we meditated and practiced kindness to each other and were more sharing, then the world would be peaceful. Um, so literally for 50 years, that's how I thought.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, okay, the money is at the root of why we have so many problems. Because like you said, when you're in situations where your money is constantly your purchasing power is getting devalued because of printing and inflation, and your money's not valuable in certain other countries, you don't behave the same way that you would if you're fed, if you have a roof over your head, if you have clean water, if all those things. And so if you're struggling just to stay alive, you're not going to be worrying about peace, love, and granola up here. You're going to need to worry about that survival. And people don't always behave the way that they would when they're in survival mode, And so I really feel it's taught me so much about the gap that we need to close,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think having
Yeah.
sound money is such an important thing. You posted, I love, Alex Gladstein's one of the reasons I'm a hardcore Bitcoiner. And I
Cool.
love that he just posted, I didn't know he was working on this book, so this is so exciting.
Yeah.
And I saw him post this morning too. So hidden repression, how the IMF and World Bank sell exploitation as development. So this is something for whoever's uh, watching. Definitely go check this out from Alex, who's the chief strategy officer at the Human Rights Foundation. Do you want to comment on this just a little bit before we wrap up, and just help people
Yeah. So,
understand, like, what is the IMF and World Bank, and what does Alex mean by this?
yeah.
If you
So
know.
the book got me once I saw the title because I guess it's going to be like a really an interesting ride for anybody who wants to read to understand exactly what's going on, right? So just a bit of a backstory. There's this book I read, I think that back in 2016. I read a lot of books in economics, like especially when it comes to understanding what's happening to Africa. So there's this lady, I think she's from Zimbabwe or so. Her name is Dambisa Moyo. So she wrote a book called Dead Ed, right? Like Ed, Dead Ed, right? And
Will you send me the
Dead
link? Yeah, send me the link,
Ed,
and then we'll put it in the
yeah,
show notes. Okay.
yeah. So let me just look for that really quick.
Okay.
Dead Ed, right? So okay, I got it. Let me drop it. Okay. So I just dropped the link,
Oh,
right?
cool. Okay.
Yeah. So
Ed. Okay.
this book tells us about how the West use aid to like crumble economies in Africa, right? So
Mm.
if you look at all the UN, the UNESCO, the UNICEF, and all of that, the IMF, the World Bank, and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
when there's a problem in Africa, so they call us highly indebted poor countries. A term I've never have to come in terms with, right? Because if you look at natural resources, if you look at what we have, Africa is the richest land in the world right now, right? And it's no doubt because everybody knows that. But when it comes to the IMF or the World Bank, we are highly indebted poor countries. That's the category that they put us, right? And you begin to ask yourself, what is the problem? So the book Dead Ed explains why aid is not good for Africa, but economic and capital capitalism, right, and economic prosperity, people creating value. That's what Africa needs. Africa does not need help from other people. Africa needs you to come and empower the people to be able to think from themselves, then create value that the people around them will benefit, and the rest of the world. Right?
Mhm.
Africa needs transferability of skills. Africa has a lot of raw materials. Africa has a lot of resources that it can transform. But now most people don't in Africa don't have the knowledge to be able to transform that and all of that. So, but instead for IMF or the World Bank to be doing that, they use earth, right? Like they say, I'll give you food, bags of rice, bags of maize, stuff. Yeah, people need to eat, but why not help us create the food that we need to eat? You get the
Well,
point?
we know why, right? Tell
Yeah,
tell
exactly.
everybody who's listening why.
Yeah, yeah. So everybody knows why, because once the African people wake up, they'll have no more control, and means that they will not exist, they'll not have any value, right? So
Exactly.
I already understand that, and I just that's why I like the book. I cannot wait to. I think I'm gonna like immediately after the job buy myself one from Amazon, because I cannot wait to read. I like to read books like that, and this is something I would like. I always like to show my African brothers and sisters. It's about learning. Learning never stops, especially learning about your environment, learning about our money, our economy. Why is the things that are happening to us? Why is it happening the way it's happening? There's
Yeah.
some cost somewhere, and then there's an effect that's affecting us today. So we need to find it and try to change the trajectory. Like what I'm trying to do with the book, I'm trying to change the narrative. Africa can also create content that can be sold, exported worldwide.
Right.
It doesn't always have to be the reverse. So I'm doing some sort of reverse engineering, because I've had a lot of amazing people like yourself and BTC Trading Cards in the US that have appreciated my work, and I feel very happy and honored, right? Because it tells me that we can also do it, and then send it the other way, and then like that. And it's the power of Bitcoin, and I think some way somewhere, even though maybe Satoshi didn't write it, but I think that's what he was trying to do, like tell everybody you're valuable, you can create something regardless of where you find yourself, right? And makes me see the world now like a whole, like on the same table. It was because before you look at the US, especially now that the dollar is really increasing its power, a lot of people are beginning to lose trust in the US. I hope they do something about it very soon. Yeah.
Well, yeah, hopefully Bitcoin's going to be doing something about it, which I do believe Bitcoin is. Thank goodness. I mean, we're together, so God bless Satoshi. Uh,
Yes.
it is true. I mean, I feel like, you know, the more that we can get more voices. I remember last year I heard Greg Foss at Miami Bitcoin, and he was just like, use your voice, and he's like, get up, get out, start talking, do your thing. And I know I was a little intimidated to start this podcast because I was like, well, I'm not an expert, I'm not like Safadine or Gigi or whoever, and who am I to go do that? But I'm a DJ and I play music and I'm an artist and I care about peace, but I know that Bitcoin is a tool for peace. So I'm like, well,
Exactly.
how can I use my little voice, with my skill set to elevate and amplify the message and the potential for Bitcoin, And so I think the more that we all just say yes to whatever we're good at and then fuse it in with somehow moving Bitcoin forward, it makes such a difference. So I really applaud what you're doing. And I want to hear more from you and the kids and all the folks who are reading the books every time. Like, do lots and lots of the testimonials and do stuff. Please tag me. I'll be happy. I know I'm not Joe Rogan or anything, but I'll rebroadcast things and repost stuff. And I want to support you in any way I can.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. I think what you're doing is amazing, and like Bitcoiners will always say, there's really no small voice, right? Any little thing that we can do is gonna help somebody somewhere that needs the information for their life to change, especially in Africa. Can you even imagine how many people? If I had my way, I'll just use a speaker and then have a microphone and then just start talking about Bitcoin on the street. But people gonna look at me like I'm crazy, you know.
Well, it's obviously, you've obviously been doing this longer than I have, but I know sometimes if we don't even talk about Bitcoin, but if we talk about like what is money and like
Yeah,
what is inflation and has
Yeah.
it affected
Yeah.
you and all that. And then at the very end, be like, oh,
Like,
have you heard about Bitcoin?
we did a meetup of a lady. I think she'd be like 50 and over, right? And she's not technologically inclined, and she doesn't really understand what Bitcoin is. She had young people doing a lot of stuff with Bitcoin, crypto, and it's so complicated to her. But there's this fellow Bitcoiner in the US who has the family here. So when we were doing a meetup, we put it on Twitter. So what he did was he sent them our way. So he paid their transport because they're not living in the same area like us. He paid them the
Hmm.
transport before they came. They attended the meetup, and behold, the lady, despite her age, she saw the value of Bitcoin because she does buying and selling. She has a small business where she does buying and selling, and she buys from Nigeria, then comes to selling Cameroon and stuff. So she always has to convert her CFA to Naira before she buys and stuff like that. And
Okay.
carrying the money from here to Nigeria, by the time you get there, the value, the exchange rate, and I know. So once she understood the economic value that Bitcoin gave to her, she broke down to tears. It
Really?
was so,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and then she began to explain how often she has gone to the bank when her son has sent her money, but she cannot access her money, maybe because there was a mistake on how the money was supposed to be sent, the name or
Hmm.
something like that, the time she had to take in the bank and all of that. And when she downloaded the wallet, in this case Moon Wallet, because we did a practical thing on Moon Wallet, and then I
Hmm.
sent her
Hmm.
some stats. It was blistering fast, and she could not even imagine. Like by the time the wallet was open, I took her credit code and then played 1 second. It's in her phone, and she was like, "Wow!" And then she saw now the money in CFA, because the one amazing thing that's in the Moon Wallet, it just takes into consideration your location, then put your Bitcoin and converts it to your CFA. So she saw her money in Bitcoin and in CFA. She was like, "Wow, wow, this your Bitcoin thing is true." That's what she said.
It is true. It's not crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
So
my God, what a wonderful story. Yeah, more of those stories. Like if you make little micro pieces of content with that,
mm,
I mean,
mm,
that is going to go viral, I think, and
mm,
the more people that understand like why it is difficult to be a business person and transacting between
mm,
countries, and how Bitcoin really solves for that problem.
yeah,
It's amazing. So, yeah, I want to see more of that. Let me help you promote things the best I can.
yeah. True, true,
Awesome.
true.
Do you have anything do you want to share with the audience? I want to tell everybody where we can find you on Twitter and Instagram at Bitcoin
Yeah.
Sophist. And I am Zonda, IAMNZOND on Instagram. And of course, the
Yeah.
bitcoinkids.com. Where can, what messages, if you have one final thing for anybody listening here who's new to Bitcoin and says, oh, I don't know about this stuff, what would you say to them?
I want to tell the person that we money has changed, right? And
Hmm.
money is going to change forever. And we are still very early when it comes to Bitcoin, most especially.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin is set in stone. Bitcoin is not going to change. Innovations are going to come and ameliorate Bitcoin, but the core what Bitcoin is never going to change. And
Yeah.
volatility is just a matter of time. Everything about Bitcoin is going to get stabilized at one point.
Yeah.
Volatility is going to be a matter of time. So, like somebody used to ask me, it's not tangible. I cannot touch it. I cannot feel it. I'm like, I put it back to them. Can you touch the internet? Say no. Is it valuable? Yes. So that's what Bitcoin is.
I love it. Woohoo! Yay. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, I'm so excited and I can't wait to get these 21 million kids in as Bitcoiners and orange pill the world with the Bitcoin Kids comic book. And so thank you so much for taking time to share your story and your project and rocking Bitcoin and helping the world with your gifts and skills. I really, really admire and appreciate you, Zonda. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, and it's a very big opportunity for me to be on the platform to talk about, to learn my voice into this whole ecosystem, so we can keep bringing more people and then gearing up for hyper Bitcoinization. Cannot wait
Yeah,
for
hyper
that.
Bitcoinization, baby. Let's go. Woohoo. All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. And this is DJ Valerie B Love with the Bitcoin Peace and Music Podcast. All right. Mwah. Aloha. Thanks, Zonda.
Okay, bye bye, and have a good one.
Thanks, you guys. Aloha.